Hello and welcome back to another episode of Holton Talks. I'm Scott Acton, joined today by Aaron Acton and Jamie Acton. How are we both?
Not too bad, mate.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, all good, thanks, all good. Bit of a different episode that we've done since we've been recording. See, no games, international break at the moment, so we're just gonna talk over what's left to play for in the season, the league, FA Cup game coming up, and the quarterfinal of the Champions League coming up as well. And then we might just touch on a couple of other bits as well. We'll get started with the Preston game, shall we? We'll start there, seeing as it's the first game that we come back to after internationals. Quarterfinal of the FA Cup, you would have probably taken out at the start of the season, considering that we've had a couple of Premier League teams in there as well. We've done so far so good, I suppose, in the FA Cup, wouldn't you say, Jay?
Yeah, like you said, it's a difficult run to start with, really, when you think about, getting Prem teams in the early rounds. You see a lot of the time you get lower league opposition. So West Ham, obviously, first game under Potter as well. So that was always a bit tricky. Obviously, having Tottenham as well, Europa League side as well. So yeah, I think both convincing wins, and obviously Cardiff as well was a professional performance. So yeah, quarter final would someone said that to me at the start of the season. It's good, but I feel like the position we're in now, we can just go that we can go a step further, because now I'd be very disappointed if we didn't have at least one game at Wembley. So yeah, but it's just focusing on that next game. Don't worry about the semi-final or the final or whatever. Just get through Preston and go from there.
Yeah, what do you think? Surely from now we got to be, we got a semi-finals, got to be a minimum, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. If you offered me Preston quarterfinals of the FA Cup to get through to the semi-finals at the start of the season, you're going to snatch your hand off, aren't you? So, it's a game we should win. I imagine they put out a strong squad. A game that, hopefully, another trip to Wembley.
Would you both have rather have played it when we are coming off the back of an international break, or would you have rather had a league first to get back into the swing of it?
I'm not sure really, because it depends on, obviously, the opposition you play and etc. And I feel like, I think we're only, was it 4 points off fourth at the minute. Obviously, with the goal difference, you're probably talking 5. So there's still so much to play for in the league. I don't know. I'd still probably take Preston away rather than a Prem game coming back from the internationals. I feel like, as well, a lot of our better players, not all of them, but a lot of our better players are away in international duty. And does Tielemans play in that Preston game? I don't know, because we have so much depth now. You can put Onana and Kamara in instead of Tielemans and McGinn. So then they're getting that rest, but also giving the others game time. And it's not strongest 11, but it's they're still well equipped to to beat Preston. So yeah, no, I probably would stick with our first game being Preston.
I was willing to put a full strength squad out. Chance to get through to the FA Cup semi-final. You got to be putting out your strongest team. Surely. Do you not agree, Joe?
No, I can see it. Yeah, I just feel like our strongest 11, whatever that may be. If you look at the next 6, 7 players outside of that, that's still a top half Premier League team. If we started against Preston with Marlon up front, Rashford on the left, Rodgers in the 10, and I know you had JJ in there somewhere, or Bailey. I wouldn't be like, oh God, he's bottled it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you put Asensio there and you have Watkins there, and there's so many different ways of playing it. I just feel like we're in a luxury position at the minute where you can change Boober and McGinn and Tielemans for Boober and Onana. You can put, you can take Contra out, put Disasi in. You can take Cash out, put Garcia in. You can swap the left back. You can swap any of the front four. Yeah, and it's still a very good top half Premier League team. It's gone are the days of where we're putting in Dendoncker and then putting in Ludwig Augustinsson and Bednarek and Chambers. Like, those days are gone now. So whatever team we kind of put out, it's going to be a strong team.
Yeah, I think he'll go pretty much full strength. I can't see the likes of Onana and maybe a Powell playing or starting, seeing as they haven't started a game this side of the international break. I'd imagine they'll get minutes though. But if you're Unai Emery, where is the FA Cup on the list of your priorities for the remainder of the season?
His main focus on the league, innit? He has said that, and quite a few times.
And
But
then what? League or FA Cup? What's more important?
I reckon FA Cup. FA Cup.
Because it's more doable.
More doable. The teams that are left in it. Obviously, I've got us, Newcastle, and Man City as three favourites to win it. You look at the Champions League, who's left in that? If we get through against PSG, you got Arsenal, Real Madrid. I just think the FA Cup's more doable than the Champions League.
I feel like if I've got Emery's head on, I feel like it would be, obviously he always says about the league being the number one priority, so it'd be the league. And then again, for me, I'll probably say the Champions League just because that is, it's the pinnacle of football. And then the FA Cup. But then, if I'm honest, it would be probably the complete opposite if if I was thinking from my perspective, the FA Cup is the number one priority for me. I'd take, we said before, I'd take losing to PSG and losing every single league game if we meant winning the FA Cup. I'm just desperate to win a trophy. And we saw what it was like with Newcastle against Liverpool. It means so much, and it's just, if we can. Just imagine a day out at Wembley, and whoever we play, whether they're, a good opposition or poor opposition, it would just be such a great day out, and if we can win it, it's just like that sticks with you for lifetime. We qualify for top four, but I'm not gonna remember in 20 years' time where I was when we qualified top four, 2 years on the spin or whatever. I'm gonna remember when we were at Wembley, 3 rows back from where we actually originally sat, celebrating with people we don't even know, drink on everywhere. Like, that's what I want more than anything.
Yeah, I personally think FA Cup should be one that we not prioritise, because I don't think you're on the draw, but I think now that this team is at a stage where if they really want to cement being probably the best team that we've all seen properly, they need to go and back it up by winning a trophy. And I mean, if they won the FA Cup, they'd be heroes for life, wouldn't
And you think that takes players like McGinn and Mings and Martinez into that category where you talk about Mortimer's, Morleys and Whips, etc. That's, again, it's not the same caliber of trophy, but from definitely in the modern era, they, because all we've had really to go off is, we had that Martin O'Neill side, and there were some great players, and people say that some of them were legends, and we didn't win nothing, and it's just if we can win something, I think that, in my head anyway, that makes, if McGinn's lifting a trophy, that puts him in that that legend status. You've got the way he's come from the Championship, the Champions League, lifted the FA Cup. You got Martinez. I think if he wins the FA Cup, that kind of. Well, I mean, he is in my head already, but maybe for more of the older generation, kind of solidifies him as the best goalie we've ever had over Spink and etc. So I just think FA Cup to win it would be so special, and it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what is needed now. I mean, the two teams that I can really think of in my head, and I know obviously I'm older than both of you, would be Brian's little team won the League Cup in '96, and then obviously Martin O'Neill's time, but didn't win anything. I think you got to go and back it up, and like I said, FA Cup would be unbelievable if Mr. Emery can pull that off. Um, just go like look. I've got the fixtures written down in front of me. So we come back and play Preston on the Sunday. We've then got Brighton on the Wednesday, Forest on the Saturday, PSG, Southampton, PSG, Newcastle. So 21 days, 7 games. That next month, pretty much, what do you think makes or breaks the season?
Yeah, definitely. Even if you look at our Premier League games, they're against teams that are around us: Brighton, Forest, Newcastle. If you just imagine we lost all three of them, defeated, lost to Preston, and knocked out Champions League, all of a sudden we're out the FA Cup, out the Champions League, and probably in the bottom half of the Premier League. So it's a big
Yeah,
month coming up. Big month coming up for us, and hopefully the boys can deliver.
yeah. So we're currently ninth on 45. We then play Brighton, who are seventh on 47. Then Forest, who are obviously a bit higher, they're on 54 and third. Southampton, and then Newcastle, although they have a game in hand, are sixth on 47. Um, so in reality, if you can hit Brighton and Newcastle, and then 3 points against Southampton, and maybe you know Forest won't be easy, but you're at home, so even if you take a point and you can take 10 points from that, you're taking 3 points off Brighton and Newcastle straight away. Would put you in a good position trying to get into maybe the top six. Champions League might be a step too far. Um, is that the aim? Do you think 10 points from them 4 league games?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of look at like aims and stuff with like the points tally when you have all these other distractions coming into it. Because amongst all those games, like I said, you've got the FA Cup. You'll then know about the semi-final of the FA Cup. If you beat Preston, then you've got the quarterfinals, and then again, if we get through that, you then got the semi-finals on the horizon. All of a sudden, if we're saying that we're going to go full strength, and you got Arsenal, Real Madrid on the Tuesday, and then we're playing on the Saturday, Sunday, and where do you go if we're like if we've been playing that, because Emery plays he doesn't make 7 or 8 changes. He sticks to that same core group of players, and it's just like, will these players be burnt out? Because like I said earlier, a lot of them are on international break at the minute. It's just like where they're international teams, and it's are they going to be burnt out? And then it's like, if you're in a dilemma where you go, okay, we can play Rodgers tonight on the Saturday against whoever it may be, but then you have to remember that we've got the semi-final game coming up in the FA Cup or the Champions League. How do we then balance that? Because if he plays tonight, then can he play in 2 days? And then that's where the whole priority kind of ladder comes into it. Because then you go, well, what does Emery deep down? What does he want? If he's prioritising an FA Cup, then we might go away at Man City like we saw last year and put out a borderline second string sort of team, and you see the likes of Marlon start over Watkins, etc. And then you get to the semi final, and then all of a sudden Watkins is playing. It's hard to kind of put a points tally on it. I just think if 10 points got offered to me, I'll take it. Don't get me wrong, I'll take that, but it's hard because again, if we're in a semi final of a Champions League, can you? It's hard to on all fronts keep those same go full strength every. Do you know what I mean? It'll be hard. It's basically
Yeah.
taking it as a game by game.
I think the order that it's coming, Preston come back and win that, I'm pretty sure that the semi-final of the FA Cup wouldn't be played until after the Newcastle game. So you'd have a run of 4 Premier League games. Southampton is obviously sandwiched in between the 2 PSG games. So if you do beat Preston, you can kind of put that to one side until the Newcastle game, and I'm pretty sure that would be in between the Newcastle and City game because I think that's the next free weekend.
You'd you'd skip a game week as well, wouldn't you? The FA Cup semi-final. So I don't know if it'd get pushed forward like the Liverpool game did, or it would be pushed further back into the season. I'm not sure because obviously if it gets pushed forward, then you've got another Prem game in the mix, then, ain't you?
Yeah, yeah. I just think if you can go and get the job done against Preston, put that to bed, bang on, and you've got Brighton and Forest, which Brighton away. If you can beat them and take 3 points off of them and get a result against Forest at home, which this won't be easy. Forest are absolutely flying. Then I think it sets you up really to go and get a result, obviously away at PSG to start with. Yeah, but you are right, one game at a time. I mean,
But
easy to try not to look too far ahead, but
it's like that's how Unai be thinking of it, one game at a time. But then obviously, us doing what we're literally doing right now is that we kind of have to. I mean, I'm saying one game at a time. That's how they're going to be thinking of it. But then we've also got to kind of, for the entertainment side of it, we
we're
actually can't take it.
trying to do a
Yeah,
podcast about the rest of the season, and you're just telling me game by game.
yeah, I know. We have to look for what we like, but it's exciting, how many points are we going to get? And like as said, then he was like, in this next month, we could be knocked out of Champions League, knocked out of FA Cup, and be bottom half of the Prem table, or we could be fifth, fourth in the Prem, semi-final Champions League, semi-final of FA Cup, or somewhere in between. And that's where football is so unpredictable, and it's the best sport on earth because you just don't know what's going to happen. Like realistically, there's nothing stopping us from doing the latter. What I said: semi-final Champions League, semi-final FA Cup, top four or top five, sorry, of the Prem. But then again, there's literally nothing. There's also a lot of things stopping us from getting bottom half Prem.
It's not something we're used to
Getting up to,
either, is it? We're not used to competing on multiple fronts at the end of the season. So
mm,
No, they've got
hopefully it falls in our favour.
they've got experience from doing it last year in terms of the Conference League, at least. I'll
yeah.
tell you what we
It,
do, just off the top of your heads. So Brighton win. What result? What we going for? Win, lose, or draw? As
Draw.
Jay,
win.
straight in there. I think draw. Forest at home.
Win.
Jay,
Win.
win.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go draw for that and all. Southampton away.
Win.
Hadley
Win.
You thought
and
about it then?
Newcastle.
I was gonna joke around and say draw or loss. I thought I can't keep a straight face, so I was gonna say win.
Newcastle at home.
Win.
Jay,
Draw.
City away.
City.
I'm going loss.
I reckon draw.
Jay,
Yeah, I'm torn between loss and draw at the minute. It honestly all depends what City side turns out. Judging by the yeah, loss.
then Fulham as
Is that their place?
that's
Our place. 3-1 at their place, wasn't it?
Oh, of course it was. Tough team to play. Draw.
Jay.
Win. Even though they're quite tricky to play
Yeah,
when they're away from home the way they set up, but I'd still think we can We should be winning that.
Bournemouth away.
Jesus.
I'm going
Jesus Christ. Draw.
Jay.
We're fucked. Draw. Draw.
And then Spurs.
Loss.
Jay.
Again, it just depends. Draw.
I'll go draw as well. And then United, last game of the season, I'll go and draw for that.
Win. Can't fucking draw or lose to them idiots.
Jay.
I think win as well. We'll have plenty to play for. They won't have nothing to play for. So
All depends if we got a FA Cup final or Champions League final.
Well, I mean,
Where we're on the table.
they might have
be.
a Euro. They might have a Europa League final, and we might need, a guaranteed point to get top five. You don't know, but with that running, obviously, I was paying more attention to what I always say with my predictions. How if it goes the way that I was predicting, I think I done loss for City, draw to Newcastle. Then I done draw to Tottenham, or lost to Tottenham, and then win the rest. I think if we go through that with other results obviously going in our favour, I think that might just push us top five. But just if other results, freak results happen as well, because I still think you probably need a City loss to turn into a win in there to kind of guarantee that top five. But I feel like if you the way that I've said it, if you can also say that the teams in and amongst us drop points unexpectedly, I feel like that might just be enough. Maybe
Do you think
with
it's
the
a Do you think it's a good thing that we're playing the teams around us, or because I think it's the I think it's better that we're playing the teams that are around us.
Yeah, I think we're better against the better teams. And I think there's a lot more on the line. Southampton are pretty much relegated, so if you can't beat them away, then you don't deserve to be in the top, in the European. All the others, there's something, you can probably take Spurs and United out of it, but every other team that we play, we're all going for the same thing, and it's about coming out on top and being the best team on the day.
you think as well, like we're 4 points behind City. I think again, goal difference makes it 5 points. But let's just say, for argument's sake, we're 4 points behind City. If we go the way that I predicted, that gap's going to be much smaller by the time. It's going to be smaller by the time we play them. That's a massive game at the Etihad. I know that it's a tough place to go. I think I don't think we won there. Since, was that League Cup game we won? We won with Gabby in the green away kit years ago.
They weren't League
We
Cup. They was in the league 3-2. Ryman scored, didn't he? The winner.
No at the Etihad.
I know the game you're on about. He curled one in with his left foot, didn't
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Gabby done and run behind the goal, didn't he? That game, I think, was the last time we won at the Etihad off the top of my head. I know it's a tough place to go, and obviously history ain't on our side with the results and that, but that is actually a massive game. If we can get through the Newcastles, the Forests, the
Bournemouth,
Bournemouths, the
Brighton.
Southamptons, yeah, if we can get through that period, it's hard, it's easier said than done. If we can get through that period with how we predicted, and get to that City game and be within 3 points of them, that game at the Etihad could be season defining. It doesn't feel right saying that because City are looked at as this juggernaut and powerhouse, and they have all the money in the world and they have all the best players in the world. But if we're within 3 points, that City game is massive.
he? Yeah, I mean, Aaron, you've only got losing one game from now to the end of the season. Jamie's got us winning more points.
Yeah. Like you said, we play better against the better teams, and with our home form that we've got, I don't see us dropping points at home much. Tottenham's our bogey team the last couple of seasons. Brighton, we always seem to play well against. Obviously, Bournemouth, we sort of struggle against every now and again. But we're better against the better team, so I just think hopefully we can put on a good run towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think the away form's going to be key, really, isn't it? Going into all.
It seemed obviously our away form was awful, but then obviously you had that Brentford result, obviously clean sheet, and it's just like it's kind of put behind you, if you know what I mean. Like now you're kind of thinking like, okay, like what, like let's go for it again because away from home that was the kind of thing last season. We obviously we lost games on our travels, but we were. I felt like we were consistent at home for large majority of it, but we are also consistent away. Like we weren't really turning over for many teams. You look at all the away games we've had, obviously bar Palace and last game of the season and at the Etihad. I feel like we gave everyone a go, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the last couple of results that we've had have obviously probably gone some way to saying that we can actually do it on the road. The Bruges game, and you know, um, just got to keep a few more clean sheets as we go as well. Because, like you said, I mean, we won't get our goal difference back, but good habits are good habits.
Yeah, I mean, I think, was it three? We've got three clean sheets. Well, so you had the Cardiff game, you got the
Brentford.
Brentford game, and then also the Bruges game. If that's three clean sheets there out of our last 4 or 5, however many it was, and it's just like you says, it's good habits. And like I said, if you take away the goal difference, I know that kind of gives the other teams an extra point. But if you can just be like, look, if we're defensively solid, and with the attacking talent we've got, there's no reasons to why we can't do just dream, and do the things we want to do. And going back to the kind of the squads and how strong we are and stuff, he will have to rotate. There's no way in hell that he can't. Like he'll have to rotate at times because I can't see a world where Tielemans starts every single game from now to the end of the season. I know he has done up to this point, but you know he's been flawless throughout the whole season. Yet Brentford he played all right. But there was another game. There was a game recently. He weren't up to his normal levels, and the same with McGinn as well. It's just they played so many minutes. Same with it's just what my point is that when you get to that Southampton game, it's in between two massive Champions League games. It wouldn't surprise me if you go away at Southampton. Yes, we need to win because if we win, it could get us into top 6 or whatever. But it wouldn't surprise if we go away at Southampton and then you see Ramsey start instead of Rashford, and you see Bailey start instead of Asensio, and you see Marlon instead of Watkins, and you might see a Onana or a Garcia maybe. And yeah, that's kind of actually how I'm thinking with this. Obviously, they're in this warm weather training camp at the minute in
Dubai.
Dubai. Yeah, I think that he's having this time with these players to obviously get fit, keep ticking over. But I have a feeling that you're going to come to his Preston because all the time he's with them now, he can talk because he's obsessed with Preston. I think Ming said it in his post-match press conference after the Bruges game. He said he's now saying Preston's the next one. He'll be drilling into these players in this warm weather training camp all about Preston. So that's why I was looking at some of these players that are on this warm weather training camp, and I think I just have a feeling that they're going to start. I have a feeling that Onana's going to start in that Preston game. I might be completely wrong. It might be McGinn and Tielemans. I don't know, but I just have a feeling that he's having this time with these players. I know he's going to get the time with the players when they come back from the international duty, but again, you need, there needs to be rotation because, like I said, there's no chance in hell that players can start every single game and expect it to be flawless because it's so unrealistic.
What do you make of the French league giving PSG the weekend off in between our games? Because it's not just the French league, is it? It's other leagues that do it as well. The English league seems to be the only one who doesn't seem to help their teams out in Europe.
I just think that the English schedule doesn't allow it.
I think as
Why is
well,
that?
the FA they've never done anything like that. Whereas you get the French league, this isn't the first time PSG have done this. Like they done it last year as well, and No, so we had it with we had it with Lille as well, didn't we? Obviously, they're
Yeah,
come from the French league. It happened with them as well. So it's just these. You have to think that French league, they look at PSG as their prized asset because if PSG do well, that reflects on the French league. The French league gets more money, get more revenue, get more eyes on them because they have the champions of Europe in their league. Whereas you look at the Prem, nothing competes with the Prem in terms of like sponsorship, money, the viewers it gets. Like the Prem wouldn't actually really think about it, wouldn't benefit a great deal from us winning the Champions League they compared to what the French league would do if Paris Saint Germain won it, and that's why you get these these football federations that just let like because at the end of the day they piss the league. They basically already won the league. It's not confirmed, but they will. Them winning the league for like the 17th year out of 19 or whatever or whatever it is doesn't help. It doesn't change anything. But if PSG win the Champions League, if
yeah,
Lille won the Conference League last year, changes the landscape of the French league because at the minute, like no one watches the French league. It's literally called the League and McDonald's. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, let's just have a what would realistic or what would you hope? No, I'm going to say what would you hope, but I'll reword it. Do a FA Cup prediction for the actual competition, a Champions League one where we're finishing the league. What looks like a good season from here? As you can go first.
uh, FA Cup. I think this is our year. I think we're going to go all the way. Champions League, I wouldn't be disheartened if we got eliminated by PSG. Um, they're a very, very good team. Um, I'd like to think we're still in it coming into Villa Park. Um, but FA Cup final in top seven of the Premier League, I think we'll do.
Yeah, Jay.
is this what like I look back on
What you see as I won't call it a successful season, but bare minimum.
bare minimum?
Yeah.
Quarterfinal Champions League. Say semi-final of the FA Cup because you could pull anyone out. You could pull City or Brighton or whatever, and then top Europe, any form of European football. I think European football's a must. If we get final of the FA Cup, semi-final of Champions League, and you don't get Europe, it's again, it's mad to say that, but it's still not good enough because you're not in Europe, and European football is the main thing for me, whether that be Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. Like European football is a must. The the PSG game, I said a little bit about then. It's just coming back to Villa Park. If we're within two goals, if it ends 3-1, 2-0, whatever at the Parc de France, and you come to Villa Park within two goals, anything can happen. And then with the FA Cup, it all depends on the draw. Again, I back us to beat anyone, but you're asking what the bare minimum kind of is, and that is just semi final. And again, European football would be the main thing. But how I think this is going to happen is quarter final Champions League. I'd like to see us obviously win the FA Cup, and then I actually think we can get top five of the Prem as well.
I like it. I mean, I actually, although the two games I've seen PSG play against Liverpool were probably I got to say they blew me away. I just think we beat them over two legs.
I'm glad you're confident about it.
I I think I think two goals is too much. I think
Yeah, so do
if we can be within a goal if we're level after their place, and I think that is the crucial game here, is that I think we'll beat them at PSG. The one thing I will say, the first game that they played at PSG against Liverpool, I've never seen anything like it. They were unbelievable.
unless we
Hot.
lost.
high press. I mean, the three in the midfield just swarmed all over Liverpool.
That is like, it sounds weird to say, but that's Emery's bread and butter, though, isn't it? Away at a European giant, first leg of the Champions League. Sit back and see what you can like. We'll sit back and give us the best you got, and
I mean,
when
they
we
will
get the
give you chances though, and Marquinhos is suspended, isn't he, for the first leg?
yeah, he is. Yeah,
He's obviously a big player, and they will give you chances. I think the one thing we gotta be
Careful.
when we get a chance, because we'll get chances, and at the back, I mean, Emmy's just got to be like, you know, on it.
Emmy.
Yeah, and then whoever he goes with at the back, you, you know, don't know how he lines it up. Does he go with a five for the PSG game with maybe a Cash?
No.
No, I
Well,
mean like Cash as a right winger, but I would think, and obviously when we get closer, we'll do a proper preview. But I would imagine that he'd want McGinn, Tielemans, and Kamara all in there for the away game. McGinn maybe
yeah,
right or as the 10, and Kamara. Um,
I feel like obviously when I watch football, I don't actually. I prefer to watch football from a tactical point of view and like a systematic point of view rather than actually watching it as just a fan sometimes. And watching the PSG games, they leave so much. I mean, they leave so much space in wide areas because it's actually it's quite old school with. I say old school, it's not, but like now you see all these inverted wing backs and stuff. That's what I mean by old school. So a few years ago, you get the wingers. They're both inverted. They'd come in, and then you get the wingers, the wing backs, sorry, bombing on, and that's how they play. They literally both fullbacks bomb on so high. They basically have three. They basically have three strikers, and their wing backs are the wingers. Um, on transition as well would catch him out, and that's where I don't know how he'll play it again in France because at the end of the day, I actually think the game will be won or lost in France because, like he says, I think if it's 2-0 after the first leg or 3-1 at Villa Park, for me, I still think we can pull that back. But again, if it's 4-1, in my head the tie's done. So that tie in my head is going to be won or lost in that away leg, and it's interesting to see. Again, we'll do a preview, go a bit more in depth, but I don't know how he's going to go because I'm saying all this, saying that it's going to be won or lost. We're only going to catch him out on transition. We need pace on transition. If you've got McGinn and Cash on both your wings to give you a bit more cover defensively, then you ain't catching them out in transition. Do you know what I mean? And if you have a Rashford and you have Rodgers, or you play Cash but you got Rashford on the other side, then you can exploit their gaps out wide. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah, I like in my head I had it down if everyone fit, say Luca Dean, Ponce, Dasassi, Kamara, Tielemans, McGinn, Cash, Rogers, Watkins, maybe.
No, I
I
think
just
Rashford starts.
I, I mean, yeah, I would probably have to agree. I'm just trying to think who would who wouldn't he leave out of that, and I don't think he'd leave Guinea out. I don't think he'd leave Boober out.
No, I think he'd do Rodgers on the right, Rashford on the left, Watkins up front.
Yeah, I mean,
But I think
again,
you
we
are right.
might have injuries. People, you don't know what will happen.
the thing is
Yeah.
that like with Emery, he's very like it's out of possession. Obviously, we can drop into a five and even a six at times, but obviously more often than not, we are a 4-4-2. Having being a 4-4-2 is sound, and I like out of possession is sweet because again, it's like you're sitting there and you're like, show us what you got, break us down if you can. But their midfield three so flexible, they interchange and they're so just dynamic. We the one thing the way I think we might struggle a bit is if they break that first line of press with if it is, I don't know, Rodgers and Watkins. If they break that press, then then you all of a sudden you've got a 3v2 in the middle, and then it's you don't know what's what. But yeah, like I said, we'll do a more in depth preview. But yeah, there's loads of different ways we could go about it.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot will be on personnel as well. We will wrap it up there. We'll do another episode next week, touch on a few different things, and then talk Preston. Obviously, it was next Sunday. And yeah, I mean, one thing for sure is that it's good to be in free competitions, and hopefully we can just keep going for April and go into May, and we're still talking about being in free competitions.
Imagine.
Touch wood.
Keep dreaming. That's all. I know we touched on it after the Bruges game, but if you can't dream, then what's the point, eh?
No.
All right, we'll leave it there. If you could watch the video, subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Just try and get the subscribers up. We'll be back next week. Any feedback, greatly appreciated. And up the Villa from me.
Up the Villa.
Over Villa.